أهلا مادام.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Would be your time, gentle people.
Certainly welcome in our second day for the Smart Cities virtual summit under the auspices of the Minister of State for Municipal Affairs and Communication Information Technology. Our topic was about the challenges that we face in the public and private sector to reinforce sustainability growth for a smart city program. And today we're talking about the great developments we see around in the technology field at a pandemic struck time. So the norms are changing. Hopefully enough, we're going to have a pool of experts around us here. Our first speaker would be Dr. Ayman Al-Qattan. He is a researcher at the Kuwaiti Center for Scientific Research, and he's got 25 years before him, and he is chairing a group for renewable energy and energy efficiency. He's talking to us today about automation in life. Automation and daily life. Hello, gentle people. شوي الفويس يمكن glitching and
الأتمتة في قطاع الطاقة وهو القطاع اللي حاليا نشتغل فيه هي يعني مجال كبير ما يسمى بالسمارت جريد الشبكة الذكية والمباني الذكية.
And the voice is glitching.
يعني شغلتين مهمتين يعني في حياتنا
A couple of things I'd like to focus upon today, whether in our place or the developed sector in other places. The basic pillars of sustainability.
النقطة هذه إذا سمحت.
احنا نتكلم دكتور إن شاء الله على 10 دقائق إن شاء الله.
My portion will be about 10 minutes. Here in the digital space, concept of a smart city hinges upon technology and the information that is being transferred between a service provider and a consumer, and also the level and magnitude of consumption, plus air condition and weather status around us, and how could smart networks operate well to simplify the thing in our daily life, way into our households. Ours are somehow big places, and managing a home level of such a magnitude
occupancy sensor
needs a lot of sensors. The sort is glitching. So,
الإنارة سواء إذا الإنارة
we're thinking about not only sensors here, talking about lights that switch on and off, whether people are in or outside a room, and maybe we are the second state in the consumption level internationally. So, which means in a way, Kuwait needs more investment in power efficiency to look at things from the welfare perspective of Kuwaitis and the Kuwaiti people. So we need that huge investment in the smart programs. And it will certainly, I mean, when a thing of the sort is in place, it would reduce any excess in consumption and improve a quality of life. Recently, many of the households on the globe, there are systems with devices home which tell about who is inside the home, what temperature is inside. You're connected to a grid and you get your feedback through internet that quick. You also learn about wind and wind force or speed. These are all data that those smart systems provide you. And also there's this patterning. I mean, this sort of pattern such smart programs provide you as they learn about who comes in, who goes out, what sort of gatherings do they have around and in which place. So thinking about the AC units in place, the lights, all these things would be very well manipulated with no extra consumption. If we look at the region around us, or let's think about the governorate, say, in here in Kuwait, where we say in one or two of them, we know that service providers in some other places may provide messages that the household doesn't know about. Probably the household owners do not know about, but the grid passes these SMSs, which would help for a good management level. Also, they may get messages through the electricity and water consumption department. We may also, at the other side, get some indicators, and we may provide household owners some tips toward belittling some consumption which is not needed. This sort of integrity level between production and consumption and planning at a smart plane, it would be a very crucial thing for stakeholders to know exactly when are those peak hours where consumption level is that high. What about the temperatures that could be also on a higher level around? What other places need maintenance? And at the end of the day, we are answering the needs of the people, say per day or per a period of months. So on a state level, these smart systems, when in place, would help for sustainable growth, and it would be that cost effective, and this is quite crucial. I think my share of the day is over by now.
ودنا بدقيقتين تقول لنا عن تجربة الكويت في 2008 شلون استعملت السنسرات أو هذا في.
Please tell us a bit more. How could Kuwait in 2008 make such a good use and investment of sensors?
نعم صار عندنا ما يسمى في حملة الترشيد. حملة الترشيد المعذرة.
Voice is glitching شوي معلش نعتذر.
في 2008 فعلا واجهنا أزمة طاقة.
In 2008 we had this energy consumption level problem around us, and it was a transformation time for us. We started an awareness program, first of all, and then with the research center in Kuwait, they have had this pilot program about managing power consumption at Mubarak Kabir Governorate, where we could save a lot at 80 schools around the governorate there. And this let the people be able to manage power consumption through senior officers at the governorate building. They could remotely turn off lights and AC conditions. That was a very cool pilot program, and it pushed us to know about also the solar panels installed on the roofs of buildings. I mean, the schools by then. We could also switch those systems off and let power consumption be given to households around the school. Thank you for this enlightenment, Doctor. If any feedback or question is there, gentle people. Thank you so much, Dr. Gattan, Ayman Al-Gattan. Now we move to Dr. Al-Kazmi, Ali Al-Kazmi, who had a PhD in computer science from the United States with 21 years ahead of him, where he worked at the central bank in Kuwait, and he was an executive officer at Al-Ahli Bank in Kuwait, the Office of Risk Management. He also had his debut at the American University in here in Kuwait and Gulf University as well. And he's also a lecturer at several other places. And he was an expert for the development program associated with the United Nations in what relegates to cloud cybersecurity. Dr. Al-Kadhimi will talk to us about automation and daily life from the bank perspective sector. Thank you so much. I share some slides in here.
تقدر تجرب الحين دكتور؟
هل البرزنتيشن واضح عندكم الصوت ايضا؟
واضح الصوت.
يعطيكم العافيه، شكرا على المقدمه، ونشكر الجمعية الكويتية لتقنية المعلومات.
Thank you so much, gentle people, for being here. I also thank the Kuwaiti Information Technology Society and the Minister of State in Kuwait for getting this meeting under their auspices. I got again some 10 minutes around me, I guess, and I'd love to highlight automation in our daily life in a little introduction that I could pass it out at the moment. I would love to talk to you about what made us really, what made automation develop in big strides. As my fellow lecturer said a minute ago, he said that developments today in technology, information, communication had led to solutions and raised an awareness and the necessity for an efficiency level in managing those solutions around. And we believe there is this big digital revolution around us now, taking over to so many sectors: education, health, governance, daily usage of apps, and all these things led to a need for installing very advanced technology to help out to answer those needs. Automation, by and large, many people think that systems in here are integrated to foster out certain outputs and results. For example, a speed in handling out some paperwork at a public office, a speed you might need to get access to a little tip or information about something. Automation is that much important to be integrated across sectors. As I said, we are counting on these technological advances today to manage operations needed at several stakeholders levels, and the efficiency level in here, again, is something that is significant. For example, if you're handling some paperwork at one public sector, with technological advancements, a guy who used to go to a public office needn't go anymore there. He simply logged into an app or two, and he could manage his paperwork easily. Automation, again, is a great efficiency in handling out work needed, workload, tackling accuracy and meticulousness in handling out operations. And I guess these are very good milestones to highlight. And we probably need to think about some other sector to draw some examples from. As I used to work at the banking sector for some time, I would love to reflect back a little bit here and see and tell you what did we see on there. For example, at that financial banking sector, in those last few years, we heavily introduced platforms for banking transactions, and we had a great efficiency and a very good speed in handling out those transactions. We also had good feedback and notifications around tackling performance indicators, and we needn't in any way to communicate with any branch offices around us. We could handle the whole thing in a pure digital space, and that led to a feasibility level that was very well acclaimed by banking clientele, and they also felt very much happy about our services in an extremely short time. The other thing I would love to talk about in here, we had in our apps, especially in those, what we introduced lately, we had apps that attracted more clientele with more easiness in handling their operations with the new apps in place. It was an easy to handle an operation under those platforms we introduced and updated lately, and they could reach out to their work through their phone. or through the website of the bank anyway. Maybe somehow in the future, we're not going to have any branch offices anymore. Maybe you're right. I mean, or we could have a very, very limited number of those offices. I mean, you don't need, for example, in the future to get back to your branch office anymore. And, you know, automation in a banking sector would help belittle so many pitfalls people at the bank used to fall in. Automation, again, is cost effective. So as you put it ahead, gentle people, little number of branch offices, little clientele having to walk in. I mean, those things could be handled that easily through a simple app around, through an internet browser or your phone, or by using even, I mean, ATM machines, again, which is another greater facility where you don't have to walk into your bank office anymore. Also, breaching security in here could also be handled out and managed. If some could probably hack an account, say, or anything that could be brought under some suspicious level, we're having notifications sent automatically to account owners, and we're asking them to confirm whether they were the people who asked for certain operations, and then their feedback tells us a lot. Again, there are too many big strides on there, especially in here in our place, the Central Bank of Kuwait. They highlight those things through some good efforts made at their site. Again, I mean, handling out your banking operation is such a great facility available around you guys today. You can handle out transactions through your app, your phone app, and you don't have to go or walk into your bank anymore. The challenges, anyway, that we had, we needed to ripen up a strategy first through phases, and we needed to integrate certain targets around. We had our visions, and we wanted things to be fairly well implemented. You know, we also needed that sort of integrity level to be handled. As for a credibility of accounts, information to be shared between stakeholders on here, again, through automation. And this sort of connectedness had made things very well optimal between stakeholders at the state level in here. We also had, for example, we thought like we need a shared platform, say, for setting up a smart city to make things more feasible, make communication more handy, and to get an integrity level targeted well in between apps in place. I may also highlight a few solutions that we proposed for a complete transformative time toward automation, whether the public sector or a private sector, a private one. There's got to be a human capital around certain skills targeted well, there will have to be hands-on training, developing certain programs, deciphering certain programs for the purpose. And again, AI, artificial intelligence, is providing lots of opportunities. So we need to have certain skill sets harnessed toward having a complete automation in place. Again, we need a smart education around us so we can get very, very well skilled people, some human capital moving around for handling out digital programs. Plus, we had this sort of campaign around us toward inducing some public awareness about automation and what does automation provide and how could people benefit from the things we proposed. As I said, we had certain effort toward this milestone. That's my share for the day, the thing I plan to talk to you about. Thank you, gentle people who have overheard me this moment. Hopefully, I could have had a little synopsis about our work. Very best time all. Thank you, Doctor. We love this share for the day. Any feedback around gentle people? Any questions? I have got a question, sir.
في عندي سؤال بس والله حق الدكتور علي من شوي. ما ادري على حد علمك دكتور، هل يعني مر عليك او في مثلا محاولات اختراقات مثلا يعني مرت عليك لانظمه او تطبيقات الهواتف الذكيه اللي منتشره الحين حاليا؟ انا اتكلم بشكل عام يعني.
There was this question from engineer Anwar who was talking about any hacking attempts for smart apps available in our locality sector. Thank you, sir. When we talk about breaches in here of security, we may have that on round the clock, I mean, on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be only apps that are relegated to a public sector or to a banking one. But we needed at this point to ensure whether there was a real breach of information or not first, and then notify those people at the cyber security office about what responses they had, what HR did they employ or deploy, I'm sorry, for the purpose. We also, I mean, they also run vulnerability assessments, and that's something that is seen everywhere. I mean, security breaches are there, again, round the clock. And our skilled personnel could, you know, prevent hacking operations from getting on your browser, and they're doing a good job. I mean, when there is this sort of security breach, our guys could take a preemptive step toward blocking those breaches in the best manners available at their place. When it comes to the banking sector, in a way, I mean, there are, as you know very well, sir, updates round the clock again, and these updates is more or less like a response to some hacking attempt that came in before. Absolutely, again, I mean, hacking is there, but we are there for a preemptive mode, and those who could be harmed from attempts like are also again being notified, and we're getting personnel in place to handle out a very good intervention level. Thank you, Doctor. Now, Engineer Anwar Al-Kandari, he was the head of cyber criminal office at the Ministry of Interior in Kuwait. Engineer Anwar, I guess today you're talking to us about artificial intelligence, and we could have had a little chat about this before, and what role artificial intelligence could play in providing cybersecurity and backup. So again, we'd love to overhear from you about AI and what intervention does it have for us, whether in a physical setting or on a pure virtual level. Thank you, gentle people, for your time in here. I'm very flattered to have all those good guys around me today. We also had some chats before about things we wanted to talk about today. The role of artificial intelligence and finding out about any hackering attempts and what provides a very secure level for a smart city setting up program. I think I've got some 10 minutes or 15 around me, but then again, a step toward a smart city implementation program is something that is irreversible. In a way, we need to push forward toward a smart city leveled program. And there are plenty of good expertise around us, plenty of good systems, smart systems around that could back us up. We may think about too many of them. I mean, a few days ago, we were talking about iPhones. When an iPhone came in first, there was this little presentation about it, and people never thought that they would have those big strides of change from 2009 to 2022. What a very big stride they had in development of technology at their place there, drawing on this example of iPhones. I mean, when we tackle the concept of smart cities, I mean, too many people talk about this today, but again, it's something that we need to push very firmly toward achieving. You know, people today would love to connect, and they would love to have a service that is that easy to handle in a way, whether using WhatsApp or your iPhone or whatever. So again, we need to keep those milestones ahead of us. And remember, this is technological progress, and technology is on the stage today. And there are several experts who could back us up and support us. And we could also evade certain problems that we face when we get this exposure with them. I think our online service level in here needs a bit of reinforcement, and how we are facing certain problems and how we could possibly resolve those problems we're facing in an extremely efficient portion of time. artificial intelligence, sure, we may count on it a lot in here. We may, through artificial intelligence, get to learn about some patterns around us here. As the other day, some guy talked about Bitcoins, and he was talking about that machine, about Bitcoins, and the great energy consumption it was consuming. So through artificial intelligence, we can have this sort of unneeded consumption. And if we had, say, for example, 50 kDs to be settled for a bill of electricity a month before, and now we're talking about 500. So we need to look for such a big change and find out about some good exposure. I know there are so many people who are enthused about the topic and who'd love to serve their sectors well, you know, and I guess we may handle some good work ahead to tell. These are the major hints I wanted to bring before you, gentle people. Yes, Anwar, thank you, sir. And let's look for feedback. I mean, yeah, I got something to say on there. Hello, gentle people.
على الجزئيه اللي طافت الانماط. طبعا المدن الذكيه تتكون من سناسر حلو فالسناسر فيها لوجز يعني فيها
Smart cities make great use of sensors.
فيها نفس التريس فعن طريق
And
الذكاء الاصطناعي ممكن
through artificial intelligence, if someone wanted to hack a sensor or take advantage of certain nodes, if someone wanted to breach, say, traffic lights, there could be some cyber unit who could pick up the signals, run some analysis, and at the same time detect this sort of attack. So I think with this artificial intelligence, things would be great. Thanks. You gave me some time.
عندك تعليق مهندس انور او ان ننتقل الى ضيفنا القادم؟ اتوقع ننتقل الى ضيفنا القادم وهو الدكتور سامي الفلاح.
Our guest speaker right now is Dr. Al-Falah, Sami Al-Falah, and he is a professor he's got a master's of economics from Washington, American University, and he's got a PhD in economics from the university based at Washington, D.C., and he is very much concerned about developmental economy. He will talk to us about economic impact on employability. Thank you, gentle people, and thanks for all the people who walked into the summit here. And
عندك البرميشن.
تمام. تمام. أنا قاعد أحاول أفتح شوف. إنزين. ما أدري إذا يبين عندكم الحين.
واضح الحين عندنا.
تمام. بداية أمسي عليكم بالخير جميعا وأشكر الجمعية
It's good to
الكويتية.
have you in here. Thank you guys at the Kuwait Information Technology Society who invited me in. Today, I'd love to talk about employability and what changes that could be there with the introduction of smart cities. We need to take into account that people over history, when it comes to a career path, change a lot. and there could be some big events where people would change their level of practice, say from an agricultural to an industrialized level toward the end of the 19th century. And then with the introduction of internet by the 20th. So those were major big events. And we're talking in here about those changes that look very normal, and they look like kind of a thing that is a different stride to take at a time. Think about the pandemic time that we had, or the war that is launched between Russia and Ukraine. So this would reflect somehow on the labor market. And so I may have look at things from the other end of the perspective and pass in certain message to educators, to universities in place. We need to understand how the labor market is having a big change around us in here, and how are your people at your place, the educational sector, doing a good job there to meet market needs. We want them to contribute well when they come up to hold jobs later, and they would be part and parcel of a smart economy, and with a very high profile of efficiency. I may have few thoughts that come to me. I got this train of thought around me. I think employability and opportunities in smart cities are very varied and multifaceted in a way. And that would certainly bring another mindset into what sort of job to handle in the future. We may have certain jobs, say, that are integrated by then. Some others might disappear in a way. I think smart cities would demand a great progress to be handled in research and at the workplace. The way a smart city operates has to do with, collecting data, handling out information, analyzing information. And if we deploy artificial intelligence around this in here, plus machine learning, that would do a good job. Smart cities, again, need a more universal understanding of the needs of the workplace. And the smart city concept is not a run-of-the-mill in a way. It's the place to be in. It's the one good place to be in. And from this perspective, we look at employability in here from a macro level. What sort of generations we need to introduce in here for the future ahead? So if I may, I would love to have those bullet points around me in here. What best jobs that would be topping your list in smart cities in the future, in very many of them places around the globe, and in view of all those changes we had through the corona pandemic time. Again, here macro levels of data would be an important pillar to handle in here, where we need to analyze those data around us in here. And there must be a human capital handling this sort of analysis that, when integrated, it would provide greater efficiency But if things are left separate, we're not getting anything till the end of the day. And I guess data in here would bring sustainable growth, again, more efficiency across sectors, varied as the traffic, education, health, and whatnot. I believe the reports that would be furnished ahead, people would be asking for too many data analysis specialists. Another job could be that of an AI, which is the artificial intelligence thing, and machine learning. And I believe this sort of discipline or domain would one day part and parcel be a part and parcel of the educational pre-tertiary level, not only in the college level in a way. So we will have several sciences using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I believe AI would be a cornerstone for all those educational operations to be handled later on in the future to come ahead in a smart city. And we will have such an added value. People would celebrate some better welfare around them. I believe another job that could be there, that could be in great demand, is a security, a cybersecurity analyst job. You know, people again in here are counting much on smart systems, so we may encounter some problems, and we need those guys around us who would be safeguarding operations. We may have attacks, and I believe such a domain would be quite a doubled high need toward inserting programs relegated to cybersecurity, thinking about clouds and stuff around on an educational sector, that maybe by the end of this year, 2022, there could be 2 million jobs available for such a line of specialty. Again, we may have another job, which is having apps or program developers around us. And today, you know, we're logging into our apps and we're getting some services. So any app developer around us in here would be someone who is in a great need in the labor market. And one last one I have in my mind is digital online shopping. And, you know, we are working from a distance in here. So digital marketing is something that would be in a great, again, demand. So today we are counting on internet that much. 60% of our operations are being handled through internet browsers, and people are, you know, standing by their sets, devices, and doing online shopping. Especially in those last few years, $250 billion in America were the money spent on online shopping. And in several of them reports around the globe, having network support engineering is something that is quite of a paramount importance for a smart city setting up time. Also, again, cloud architects are needed around the place. And there will be, I believe, a great demand for such a job to be answered. And I guess urban planning and engineering. I mean, buildings in the future would be totally different. They tackle some sort of environmental sustainability. They are emitting less pollutants around. We're having lots of a green place around us in here, so we may need civil engineering at that sort of urban planning level to be re-geared in a way. Thank you, Dr. Osama, for this very well organized thoughts in here. And it's lovely to have an exposure about this. So we know what jobs that our kids around us may head for in the future. And again, gentle people, any questions around us in here?
جزاك الله خير دكتور أسامة على هذا الكلام، وننتقل الآن إلى ضيفنا القادم.
I guess our guest speaker at the moment is Mr. Akbar, Hassan Akbar, who is a director of a company on the Internet of Things, head of one of those company branch offices in Kuwait, and he would talk to us about the welfare Internet of Things brings to people. Again, we enacted a very cool conversation about the topic a couple of days ago, and especially the success stories of the private sector toward that milestone. Internet of Things, again, would be our topic next. Hello, good be your time, gentle people. Thank you again, you all, for getting me in here, and it's lovely to get some exposure and learn about your expertise and what updates and services you're providing. Let me share a few things on here with you guys. I would love to talk about what experience we accumulated at our place and what challenges we faced. One of the challenges, for example, were how to connect your device to internet and or websites, and we got plenty of them requests. Where would your car go? How would you monitor your car mobility? And the Sultanate of Oman. Sorry, I didn't catch up with this. An engineer at our place developed a microprocessor where you could leave it inside a school bus, where you would have an ambient intelligence and detect any kids who might be left behind on the bus with nobody learning about them. And I mean, we may have incidents and adversities of the sort almost once or twice a year. So one of our guys in here had this little mini computer with a GPS facility and an ambient intelligence sensor, and had it installed in a school bus, and through a mobile application you could, and also through a smart card left in the school bag of a student. Moment the student gets on the bus, people will get to know about the son or a student who went on the bus. And when people, again, get down, there's this visual detection through the program where the program could send a signal about some people who are left behind to the school administration, for example. Sorry, the voice is a bit glitching, gentle people. And معلش الصوت يقطع شوي. and
او عفوا جائحه كورونا خلينا نقول القطاع التعليمي كله توقف، لكن الفريق موجود. احنا اوريدي كل شيء نسوي ان هاوس عندنا. فريق طبعا انترنت الاشياء المدن الذكيه في ابلكيشن في اجهزه.
Internet of Things again provided us with devices that help us cover lots of things, and all these tools are integrated, and it's quite a promising sector through the pandemic struck times. We could manage
نقول people isolation اللي
airport traffic. We could detect COVID-19 infected personnel at the airports through these programs. And sorry, voice is glitching again.
كمان مضطر ندش على منصه مشرف يعبي البيانات يوصل هناك.
We have this platform around us where people log in and fill in personal information, and we know who comes in and out, and we also develop devices. Again, the voice is glitching, so I can't catch up with the whole chunk. Gentle people, I'm sorry.
المؤسسي على حسب القانون يختار الفندق اللي يبي على حسب الريت والاسعار الموضوعه. فالحين هذا الجهاز يركب في جميع الفنادق والاسوار موجود. فطبعا حركه الدخول والخروج لجميع المسافرين. الداشبورد بالباك اند مسوين خلينا نقول 7 داشبوردز لكل جهه رسميه في سلطنه عمان.
Under this platform at the Sultanate of Oman, we had several dashboards, up to 7, that helped the health officials, the police sector to catch up with personal information registered. And there's some, for example, harem, some women who wear their own abayas, and they may have this sort of bracelet from the health sector way under. Then moment with this ambient intelligence set, the woman gets closer, we could learn about someone who's wearing something on there. Plus, we may pick on those people who have been under some fines and at the police sector, and who were eloping any settling of bills and tickets, probably. So the guys could get closer to them. We counted as much on Internet of Things, and we had those applications around us. Moment you walk into, for example, your workplace, you may get this fingerprint around your mobile phone app. But again, you could somehow elope a service like and do away with it. So we tried something different. We developed or designed something with our partners at STC, for example, and also one of those educational services that moment you have this application open, so you need to be within the workplace, that the ambient intelligence tool would detect your presence automatically. I think we are also counting on Internet of Things for students' mobility to and back from schools. And it's quite a promising sector for making up a quality assurance level of smart city projects. But again, we're having little human capital around us. We need more and more people. So we need those specific designers for one specific job or two. We may have plenty of things out there, so many stories to enhance. So those guys around us, those architects are quite a scarcity, you know, in a way. And sometimes we're short of them in here. So we need those skilled personnel in a way in place. And here, one of our fellow speakers on here, we may need those jobs he talked to us about. We may have, we may need plenty of need for app designers and, you know, all these outputs for hardware, software, again, need be backed up in a way. We're having a great shortage of a skilled workforce in here, and sometimes we come across very big problems to resolve, and sometimes you import certain device which could not be identified at the local sector in here. But again, we could face those challenges and work out solutions. We had certain parts manufactured in China, assembled in Oman, and brought in here, and we had certain programs installed. This is all I got in here. Thank you, sir. That was quite interesting. I remember when in 2007, when a smartphone was in place, it was only a little platform around us. But then people who had greater problems started thinking about developing such, say, a tool for enhancing daily needs. And again, Internet of Things is another greater concept. And with these tools that the Internet of Things provide would help answer problems and needs. You talked about people who face several problems. Again, with IoT, you could do something. Any questions around in here? Mr. Akbar, Hassan Akbar? I'm sorry. Yeah.
انترنت اوف ثينجز، يعني على قولتهم انترنت الاشياء، وشلون احنا ممكن ننقل، يعني بدل ما يصير مثلا عندي كمثال سيرفر او جهاز رئيسي مثلا في الشركه مثلا بالكويت.
We're talking about Internet of Things.
ودي سيرفر اخليه مثلا على الانترنت واسوي عليه اكسس وادخل عليه من برا مثلا، واوزع الخدمات هذه على مستوى عالمي. طبعا كلنا قاعدين نشوف الايام.
How could we possibly have a greater scope of Internet of Things program implementation across sectors? I don't know if you caught up. Again, there is this sort of boycotting around of several services. They are breaching away with Russia, and again, as Russia is being alienated from the globe. So, I mean, few years before, I used to Russia several years ago was thinking about a day like, and if they thought at one day ahead being alienated from the globe, and several of them services to include the digital space. So what solutions could they possibly envisage at their side? Now forget about Russia, what about our place in here? Do we have anything, any solutions stand by in here to serve? Everything actually we had in here was an in-house attempt toward developing big strides, except a few devices that we used that have been manufactured in China. But so you could imagine, I mean, what level of workload do we have? But to tell you the truth, I liked your question in here. We would love to have this sort of a pure, like to have this sort of efficiency at our side, to do all things by ourselves somehow. A friend also talked about this in Twitter the other day. What if something like, I mean, let's think about the scenario of the sort. One state is being alienated from the globe. what in-house solutions are there? Maybe
احنا اصحاب الشركات عاده نشوف المشاكل ونبدي ندور السوفت وير او الحل علشان نبدي نسوقه، لكن عمليه اتخاذ القرار في النهايه تبقى هي الجهه
يد المسؤولين.
الحكوميه او
again, I mean, I think there is another third party who takes in on decision making. So, I mean, on a corporation level or on a corporate level, we may have our solutions around, but I mean, we need this umbrella of a government senior level decision making strategy be in place that could back our solutions up. I mean, let's think about civil aviation. Before, we offered few services there, and as a member of the locality, I need to positively collaborate with any public authority, stakeholder, exchanging pools of expertise. This is exactly the heart of the thing: collaboration, collaboration, collaboration.
ننتقل الى ضيفنا القادم، بس انا بتاكد ان ضيفنا القادم موجود السيد عبد العزيز الفرحان موجود.
موجود الله
I
يسلمك.
think next guest speaker is Mr. Farhan, Abdulaziz Farhan. I'm sorry. I'm here, gentle people.
مهندس عبد العزيز الفرحان شريك مؤسس
Engineer Farhan. He is a partner and a co-founder of a company that does some great work in virtual education. And I knew him years before. They got several programs designed and plenty of digital space they worked on. I would love to learn from you about smart education and the strategies you may have ahead. Hello, gentle people at the society in here. And I could have had some great exposure and to several tips in here, especially the needs of the labor market and, you know, the smart city concept. Dr. Osama had provided lots of nice inputs as well. We are talking about, of course, smart education and sustainability. How could I possibly make an education for all? How could I get the learner to be a leader, not a passive recipient? We are talking about teachers to be coaches and facilitators. When we talk about smart cities, again, some may talk about technology. That's true. But technology is only a means to an end. And, you know, sustainability growth, plenty of other things, answering labor market needs. But an important block is how to efficiently use programs and apps like to answer, for example, labor market needs. I mean, some pilot programs I saw by myself. Back in 2014, we went to Great Britain through an invite furnished to us by Microsoft. We visited schools and we saw how technology had been implemented for getting a skilled learner around to answer future needs. I have seen students gathering around round tables, 5 on each, and everyone has got his own tablet, and there is a trainer and an assistant trainer. To be honest, I never thought this is learning by rote. I thought I am on a different plane at the moment, and I felt like coaches and trainers are dealing on an equal footing with the learners. In the past, here we had a great discussion time between the trainer and the learner, and learners go prepare a few things home, read some material, get back to the trainers and negotiate a few things up, ask for some feedback. I think when we talk about smart cities, we need to address several blocks. One of them is technology. We had several initiatives with friends on here. We worked with the Minister of Education some time before, and we were talking about networking. By then, we wanted to efficiently introduce something that could help. Another exposure we had back in 2019, we went through the American Embassy office in here. We walked into several schools and universities. Again, I got impressed when I walked into a very small school. I think it was only about 150 square meters. Imagine one trainer, one school principal or head. I sat with the learners. I said, well, there are plenty of schools on the place. There was one learner who was about to graduate. She said, I actually had a little disability through a bullying event, and there were too many people who started poking fun at me. So I talked to my parents and said, hey, that's enough. I'm not going to that school anymore. Now, at this place, new place, we had a set up, an environment, a learning management system, of course, a virtual learning management system, where learners would reach up to know-hows and get to learn about some good activity run throughout the month. And so you're evading some bullying, maybe attempts. Some think, I mean, this is an anti-socializing level. But no, I mean, the school is scheduling certain activities throughout the month. So people get in together. I guess this is quite a smart conception. And harnessing those tools is a great stride. Let's think about the major pillars of smart education. There are four, I guess. One is accessibility. There's got to be that very well enhanced accessibility level. Again, we need this. Again, we need to have this flexibility or feasibility around us toward reaching out to these programs, or some resilience in a way. And again, things have to be cost effective for learners and for the learners' people. Hamdan bin Rashid, the smart university based in Dubai, they had a nice, for example, thing they've done on there. They got to partner with Starbucks cafes and could design 5,000 training 5,000 trainings at their platform. And I'm sorry, I missed the guest speaker's point in here. I'm very much sorry, gentle people. I had some challenges to tell you as well. I mean, the things that face smart education, to think of one, is that we all the time think about buildings, how to manage the administration, but we forget all about education as an operation, as a progress. And this resistance to change, this resistance to developing the sector is something that I've seen around a lot. Many have seen around a lot. So, well, there are plenty of examples to count upon in here. And, you know, I mean, at the pandemic struck time, at the beginning, nobody wanted to go have, you know, any shots. Nobody wanted to get vaccinated. And then again, there was this resistance to change. And I believe in an electronic education or in an e-education plane, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, people will not get used to it automatically if we had introduced this thing 5 years ago. But now, in view of the pandemic struck times, people have got oriented in a way. Again, the Ministry of Education has introduced something from a distance. There was this remote learning. And we could provide some solution at the end of the day to learners. You know, there were 1.2 billion kids who stopped learning at such a bad time. But here, again, we did something. Of course, I mean, remote learning has got certain basics to introduce. We got this synchronous and asynchronous level. And, you know, the synchronous level is where we're having the teacher or the trainer who is talking to his people in class at the same time through a digital space. And we also had recorded instruction tutorials, and that was the asynchronous level in a way. So those couple of things were managed well. And that was a success story, and it didn't happen only in Kuwait, but, you know, globally wise, it was there. Now, we're talking toward a $350 billion investment in a learning management system toward the year 2025. Unless you get this sort of budgeting and around us in here, you won't be able to provide any education, where in some other places 1.2 billion kids were bereft of learning. Thank you, sir. And again, we picked up on some good tips on here, and we'd love to overhear from. You'll be your time. I may have got a couple of things around me.
عبد العزيز فرحان الله يحفظك.
ونعم والله اخوي عبد العزيز.
I can't agree more, I mean, with Mr. Abdulaziz for this lovely tips you talked to us about the concept of smart cities. I mean, especially in Emirates, you need to have a smart community, and to get a smart community, you need to have people who are pretty well aware. This is something we handled at UAE. So to have this sort of open community is not that easy. Here in Kuwait, maybe the things were a bit complicated, and electricity bills in here are probably that well underbilled. So unlike some other places where they have plenty of money to pay for and settle their electricity bills, so Kuwait may have an advantage. So here, I mean, if power is not that much to pay for, I'm sorry. So why do I have to get a smart home around me? I probably agree with my friend in here that, you know, an awareness program should be there. It could be a volunteering program on one level, and we need to look up to those people who would like to implement Internet of Things at their home. But another thing, I believe electricity bills should be overcharged a bit, or the thing could be envisaged in some other manner, so people will get induced and oriented towards something that is more efficient and smart. I had this collaboration level with people around me before here and setting up few awareness programs.
كثير اهم التكنولوجيا اللي بروحها ما تقدر تسوي الكثير يعني. شكرا اخوي انس.
يعطيك
So we
العافيه.
need to have a smart community again, gentle people around us in here.
عندنا رخيصه هذه شغله. الشغله الثانيه فعلا هي قضيه وعي ومسؤوليه، كثر ما ان الانسان يكون حريص من باب انه يعرف ان هذه نعمه من نعم الله سبحانه وتعالى، انها متوفره لنا بالشكل هذا، فبالتالي يكون الدافع ذاتي في حرصه عليها. أنا أنتقل إلى ضيفنا القادم
Our next guest speaker,
سيد محمد أشكناني، وهو مدير المكتب الإقليمي.
Mr. Ashkanani, Mohammed Ashkanani, is a regional director of W3C organization who would talk to us about smart cities for all. Monsieur Mohammed, the mic is yours. It will be your time, gentle people. That was such a great time we had in here together, and I'm also flattered to be in here with you.
الشاشة واضحة؟ الشاشة واضحة الحين؟
I think sharing my screen is now open to all.
نعم واضحة. اليوم حابة
Today, I would love to highlight the concept of a smart city for all. I would love to introduce the concept in here of a smart cities for all. As I was in here in Kuwait for this summit meeting, and plus my master research and PhD research on a related sector, we actually have those problems at the e-governance level. Especially, I mean, the stakeholders, I mean, Dr. Ammar, who is having a great debate for Kuwait e-governance. Again, we're having certain challenges around in here. I wish to highlight accessibility. Accessibility, again, if introduced well, in several of them domains. If we talk about access and security, for example, so you can get automatically handy of a little tip of information in here. But by definition, accessibility in here is used for a usability for people with disabilities. We may have two terminologies in here. So we may have accessibility and usability. Actually, those are a couple of terms or technical jargon words that are different. digital technologies are for all.
للجميع. للاسف اللي نواجهه اليوم ان المجموعه هذه او الفئه الاشخاص من ذوي الاعاقه غير مندمجين في التكنولوجيا.
The thing that we face today is that, I mean, people who have got some disability at their place are not really being integrated into this program. Community culture misses out on a couple of things. What accessibility does mean to them by and large, and what resources are available in there. And there is, academia misses out on lots of resources in here. At the GCC country level, so many of them resources, I believe, were missing. And, you know, again, this is a line of specialty, digital accessibility, for example. And I guess when you talk about digital programming for disabled people, so how could those people access technology? I all the time actually bring this under focus. And several of them probably conferences I've been to before. So accessibility versus usability. Many, again, I believe, do not grab the definition well. I mean, what area, again, that could be shared in between those couple of terms on a semantic level. I mean, my friend in here, we talked a bit before about, you know, accessibility, and let me have this example. Elevators. Now, there's no control panel anymore in an elevator. We have this technology installed. Those numbers these numbers are there, but with no sign of the digit 1, 2, 3, and 4. This could be some accessibility something. I don't know which one a button would lead me up to the second or third or fourth story in the building. Another thing, for example, when we get those digits available on those controls or on the control panel are placed at some height that some people can't reach up to it. So things have to be, in a way, in here. I mean, they are usable, but they are not accessible in this second instancing I brought. So what I wanted to say in here is that we need to create some equilibrium between usability and accessibility. And this is something that is of a paramount level of importance in our daily life and activity. So we can't get away with them both. Modes of practice in here. Again, back to my smart city for all. What does that mean? We mean all people are included. Also, I mean, the disabled are there. This equity mindset, integrating all on a community level, is something that need be tackled vehemently today, especially at the college level and way at schools. They need, I mean, people under need to introduce some correct, cool culture about it. There are plenty of things. Getting all people included, not having any exclusiveness around. It's a smart city is run by human. It's not an outlandish concept. It's an integrated level of smart life introduced for all. And then we can move on to developing that city in some other sectors. The question is there, are smart cities an opportunity or challenge for people with disability? I mean, the disabled, for example, community, would they face problems in a smart city? Through several of them, exposure programs and research handled, we think by 2050, this could be a major challenge. Many of them, governments, including, I mean, the disabled in a smart city community is a very feeble concept in a way. And sorry, for example, I mean, let's think about the pedestrian space, and what space are we offering for the disabled? Again, I mean, to make a building accessible and usable with all good technology installed, physical buildings already are not planned for serving the disabled. So again, here we need to reinstall other buildings then. And this is a great, huge effort then to handle. I wish, especially the people at the GCC level to collaborate and more on it and create solutions for the disabled people. It's good to introduce something from scratch, but later on, it could be that much difficult or a barrier for us to get over, not that easily. Now moving to LED parking displays here, we're having this little screen, as you see in the picture. So 53 here is a parking lot. Unfortunately, this technology is available for people who have got no disability like vision, for example. How could people with some disability of the sort read a screen like? A second example, most ATMs are not developed for a service like of the disabled. Sometimes we move into a restaurant in Kuwait, and then there is this machine where it leads the disabled toward some service. But then when we investigated into it, the service was missing, unfortunately enough. So again, mobility of the disabled need to be handled in a smart way. Now, enabling village, for example, is another example. Enabling Village was a program handled in Singapore, and it was planned for the disabled, and this village was open to all. The general concept behind in here is not a two-version level, but say one thing for group A, one thing for group B, one thing for people with no disability, and one thing for people with disability. Web introduction to digital services, there has got to be some significant part allotted for technology devoted for the disabled today. There's got to be some chapters in books about, and there's got to be some awareness programs handled, some sessions open for all. We need to reach up to an output in here. I mean, I feel down that that we don't have such a large-scale attempt available on the side of government senior officers at the moment. I mean, there are plenty of things. I mean, braille signs for deaf people, having those dots in here. If we examine the streets of Kuwait, we don't have tools available for those people, so we need to include them all in here. We don't want to offer them services as such. No, we want them to be productive partners with us down the way. And again, this is some constructivism level that need to be handled out at the human resource management sector.
عندنا اللي هي الاوبستكلز حق السمارت سيتي عندنا احنا المشاكل اللي نواجهها هي الاويرنس غير موجود.
Or sometime cut short, I guess, right in here from my part. There are plenty of things again that are missing in here, and plenty of services that need to be installed anyway. استاذنا شوي صوت glitching. You can actually get to me, to my inbox, and I can furnish you some information about. If we think about the European guidelines, they've got two guidelines in here where they implement W3C directives in here. And these couple of guidelines are ISO certified, and you can feel rest assured about using them. As for Kuwait National Standards for Digital Accessibility, they've got a couple of requirements in place. We are implementing a W3C guideline in here, and another requirement we follow up on the European standard. We need to have a smart city with all included. It's all inclusiveness level. Guys, thank you. You gave me this room today to talk to you about. I hope one day I will have a smart city. You will have a smart city for all. We will all celebrate this together. And there is a visibility part for it. And hopefully we would address all different types of adversities as well when it comes to the disabled community around. Thank you, Monsieur Mohammed, for this lovely perspective you brought, and especially this sort of inclusiveness you brought, which is quite an important factor of planning and mindset change, and people have got to live in together.
تجاوزت ب5 دقائق تقريبا، فانا راح اضطرني انتقل الى المحاضر القادم.
Our next speaker, Dr. Al-Khalidi Afnan Al-Khadi, will be talking to us about something. Good be your time, Dr. Afnan. She has got a PhD in information and technology management in smart cities. She's a specialist of smart city program, and she actually oversees training for getting good employability inputs with some research handled around about a smart city programming. She would talk to us about challenges again ahead that could face us in setting up a community, a smart community like. Thank you all guys and all the people who pushed such a nice meeting and conferencing we had. I guess challenges again are things we are facing in here. I'm sorry, things governments are facing around.
طبعا استاذن الحضور ان البرزنتيشن راح يكون باللغه الانجليزيه لصعوبه شرح بعض المصطلحات باللغه العربيه. As we know, technology is changing the way we live, and we are highly depending on.
احنا كثير عم نعتمد على التكنولوجيا خاصة في فترة الوباء. عم نحكي عن القطاع الصحي، القطاع التعليمي، طرق التعليم التقليدية ما عادت مناسبة. وهون اجت فكرة المدن الذكية في حل هذه المشاكل، تأمين الحركة للأشخاص، المشاكل البيئية، إدارة النفايات ومواضيع أخرى ذات أهمية. يعني يتوقع أن 60 مليون شخص راح يعيشوا في مدن عام 2050. فأكيد الحكومات لازم بقى تفكر كيف تنقل شكل المدن الحالية إلى شكل ذكي ومتطور، بشكل أن تقدم هذه المدن الذكية مزايا مهمة ترتقي بجودة الحياة والخدمات.
تعريف المدينة الذكية وايد في تعاريف ما اتفق عليها الليترشر، يعني كل الآثر حط له تعريف معين، بس أشهر واحد فيهم كان باي سيلفا 2018 عرف المدينة الذكية as a modern cities that utilize information and communication technologies and other technologies to improve quality of life مثل ما ذكرنا operation efficiency in urban services while ensuring the resources availability for future generation in terms of three social, economic and environmental.
وأكيد لابد من مراعاة العناصر الثلاثة الأساسية، هي الناحية الاقتصادية والجانب البيئي وجانب المجتمع. نحن عم نحكي عن المدن الذكية اللي مؤسسة على 3 مفاهيم. بالنسبة لمفهوم الانسترومنتال هي متعلقة بالسنسورات الافتراضية والموجودة أو الواقعية، وأيضا مفهوم الانتركونكتد، وفي نحكي فيه عن دمج البيانات والمعلومات وتحليلها لمنافذ حكومية وخدمية مختلفة في المدينة. وأيضا هناك مفهوم الانتليجنت اللي له علاقة بالتعامل مع البيانات ونمذجتها، وبناء على هذا الشيء راح تكون المدينة قادرة على التكيف مع أنماط سلوك جديدة. الركائن الأساسية اللي بتشكل المدن الذكية، وتحدث أحد الزملاء في الموضوع اليوم. And yesterday they talked to us about تم الحديث عن مدن ذكية، القطاع الصحي اللي يعنى بالبرامج الذكية وإلى آخره. في عندنا يوكي، أحد المدن الذكية ببريطانيا موجودة. إذا رحنا على يوكي، على بريطانيا، عفوا بيوكي نقدر نحجز ببريطانيا نقدر نحجز على القطار من خلال البرنامج، وإذا في أي تأخير راح يخبرونا. أحد الأسباب بريطانيا قائدة في مجال المدن الذكية هي تقديم الليتات الذكية في الشوارع مع ابتكارات أخرى. عندنا كمان مدينة كيب تاون في الخليج، عندنا مدينة بي عندها 3 أهداف كانت رئيسية.
بعين الاعتبار الكاستمر ساتسفاكشن
حطت بعين الاعتبار مراعاة حاجات المستهلكين ووجود مرونة في البنية التحتية، واعتمدت على نمط حياة ذكي وتخطيط ذكي ووجود رأس مال بشري لهذا الغرض. عوائق ممكن تواجه مثل ما هم تحدثوا عنها، هي مدى ثبات الخدمة على جودة معينة، غياب شرائع وقوانين لهذا الغرض، وعدم معرفة العامة حول هذا النوع من التكنولوجيا. التحديات لابد كان من بالضبط الأخت ذكرت واضح أن تهيئة الأفراد لمعرفة هذا النوع من نمط الحياة الذكي اللي يعتمد على التكنولوجيا الذكية. إذا حكينا بالمزايا طبعا والفوائد، مثلا في القطاع الصحي أكيد راح يوفر كثير من الوقت والطاقة ليصرف الأشخاص بالنسبة لي مثلا الدكتور، مثلا أصحاب الأعمار الكبيرة ما يقدروا يكون عندهم موبيليتي تحرك، فالدكتور واضح طبعا الأخت حكت في العربي ما يحتاج أعيد. Okay, sorry here, I missed this part as well. بالنسبة لي صار في عندنا العدادات الذكية. العدادات الذكية وفرت كثير من الموارد المالية، وبالإضافة لوجود وبالتالي صار في موفورات مالية عند الأشخاص. استعمال المي والكهرباء شلون ممكن نوفر طاقة مثل ما الأخت عم تذكر in Arabic، ما يحتاج طبعا أترجم عفوا. فكان هناك توفير على أكثر من صعيد. دور التكنولوجيا في عندنا انترنت الأشياء والبلوك تشين اللي ممكن يستعمل لتعزيز واقع المدن الذكية وتقديم خدمات متعددة وتوفير مبالغ ضخمة كانت تصرف في غير مكانها في غياب نمط الحياة الذكي. أيضا يعني دمج التكنولوجيا ووسائل والأجهزة المختلفة. فوائد إنترنت الأشياء تساعد في تقديم خدمات أفضل من جهة المدن الذكية وتربط ما بين الأجهزة المختلفة. في البلدان اللي نامية ومنها الكويت، التكنولوجيا عندما تقدم تكون شيء ملاحظ من قبل الجميع، لكن لما يكون في غياب مثلا فهم ووعي لعديد من الأدوات الذكية والخدمات الذكية، مثل وجود عدادات مثلا ذكية، ممكن الناس بغياب برامج توعية تعتقد أن الأجهزة الذكية هي تجسس يصير على الأشخاص ويعني دخول على خصوصيتهم. قد يكون في هالحالة من الصعب أنك مثلا تتحدث إلى الكبارية في العمر وتوفر لهم مفهوم. فتوصيات لابد من وجود خطوط عامة إرشادية حول موضوع المدن الذكية وكيفية تطويرها. الأخت تتكلم بشكل واضح ما يحتاج، وبناء ثقة ما بين الجهات الحكومية والمجتمع المدني. توعيتنا حول موضوع الأمن السيبراني ووجود قوانين قوية في هذا المضمار.
الحكومة لازم تشجع السيتيزن.
لابد من الحكومة تشجع المجتمع المدني حول المشاركة في بناء المدن الذكية ولابد من وجود أيضا مساهمة من قبل من يعمل في القطاع السياسي ومكان أهل القرار. لابد من أن يشجعوا على طرح هذه الفكرة وقيام هيك نوع من المجتمع الذكي في مدينة ذكية.
دولة ثانية ونطبقها على الكويت، هذا شيء مستحيل، لأن الكلتشر عندنا غير، المايند سيت عندنا غير، الانفايرمنت مالت الكويت غير، سو نحتاج دراسات عميقة في هالمجال. وبعد آخر نقطة اللي إذا عندنا تكنولوجيا نبي نفرضها على الناس، it should be aligned with the mindset to accept it. بنجيب تكنولوجيا ما حد
احنا بحاجة. اوكي سو
failing examples كانت اللي هي Olympic Games.
كان في أمثلة عن فشل، في حالات فشل في مثلا الألعاب الأولمبية، كان في أنظمة ذكية من بعدها ما حدا بعد غياب الألعاب ما حدا استعملها، لأنه كان في غياب لتوعية المجتمع المدني حول هذه الأنظمة. صارت الناس تحس إنه ما يحتاج هيك أشياء، يعني هذا فيها نوع من غزو لخصوصيتهم أو لحياتهم الخاصة بغياب التوعية.
يعني هو المجال السمارت سيتي وايد كبير والتكنولوجيات متعددة، بس اليوم لأن عندي بس 10 دقائق فحبيت بس أحط النقاط كذي وأشرح بشكل عام. ويعطيكم العافية.
يعطيك العافية يا دكتورة، صراحة شيء احنا نفتخر فيه ان عندنا ناس، وانت ذكرتي ان من اوائل الناس اللي متخصصين في المدن الذكية، وان شاء الله يعني ان يكون عندنا عدد اكبر من الناس، لان هذه الطاقات اللي احنا نحتاجها حق المرحلة القادمة. فجزاك الله خير وكلام وايد طيب. الآن عندنا آخر ضيفين اللي هم الحكومة، يعني عندنا الجهة التشريعية والجهة التنفيذية في الحكومة، وهم آخر ضيفين راح يكونون ويانا اليوم. راح أبدي في ضيفنا الأول اللي هو الأخ محمد التورة. الأخ محمد التورة هو حاليا رئيس قطاع السوق والمنافسة في سترة اللي هي العمل الاتصال. الأخ محمد التورة يعني يمكن ما صار لي علاقة وياه كثيرة، لكن من تخرجت من الجامعة وأنا أسمع إن في كويتي يشتغل في مايكروسوفت، فكان دائما ودي أتعرف عليه بشكل أكثر وأعرف الشباب الكويتيين اللي اشتغلوا في الانترناشنال اورجنايزيشن. واليوم هو ضيفنا في الجمعية، راح يتكلم عن الديجيتاليزيشن في تطبيقات التحول الرقمي. راح يتكلم عن التحول الرقمي، فالميكروفون معك أخوي أبو عمر وتقدر تفضل.
مساكم الله بالخير جميعا، يعطيكم العافية. أولا أحب أشكر راعي المؤتمر معالي الوزيرة الدكتورة الفارس، وأيضا جمعية الحاسوب الكويتية وكيفاس جمعية التقدم العلمي. يعطيكم العافية. As technology يعني moving so fast, so we need to update each other all the time. والصراحة الإخوان ما قصروا، ما خلوا شيء، يعني أنا ما أدري إيش أقول، بس mainly I'm gonna recap على الأشياء اللي دارت بهذا المؤتمر، وأيضا توضيح بعض الشغلات على أساس نكون إحنا على موجة واحدة في مفهوم التحول الرقمي، اللي هو طبعا ما في مدن ذكية تشتغل بدون تحول رقمي، وراح نشوف هذا الشيء، وراح أسوي شير على السكرين. شير. تشوفون السكرين واضحة؟ طبعا هذه أول شيء مثل ما تقول تعرفة للتحول الرقمي. أنا ترجمتها بالعربي، فبروح السلايد اللي وراها. مفهوم شنو هو التحول الرقمي؟ التحول الرقمي هو تغيير طبعا ثقافي وتنظيمي وتشغيلي لأي منظمة أو صناعة أو نظام بيئي، يعني ايكو سيستم من خلال التكامل الذكي ما بين التقنيات اللي موجوده والاوبريشن العمليات الموجوده والكفاءات اللي هم الناس اللي تشتغل كهيومن ريسورس عبر جميع
HR officials on all levels at the different hierarchical level of management, whether we're talking about middle managers, seniors, or others. Any any corporation would love to have an environment set up for technology with some good infrastructure in place, with cloud computing, and we may outline one thing in here. Any digital transformation with no AI is not a digital transformation as such. It's only like commuting from one information center to another, or using one information service hosted by another server. So I guess enabling HR and developing services are things to handle for a digital transformation mindset attempt of change for better accessibility in from the public. Digital transformation, which is DT. To the end of the day, we are trying to hit on certain regulations that we could make daily life of people more easy, develop community, and back up innovation. Let me provide examples. بالنسبة للحكومة الذكية, Dr. Ammar has already highlighted several things, and he's working round the clock on a daily, on a day-by-day basis to provide solutions for people and for the government that, for example, I mean, we're having several of them cost-effective programs introduced on there. And this is, again, something that we cannot escape, an important milestone in here. We're talking about cloud computing. Again, this is something that improves services. Sorry. Again, smart healthcare is another sector. Digital transformation. Digital transformation with the presence of AI, with lots of analyses, that improves quality of life of people a lot. Imagine when we're having this sort of artificial intelligence, when they talk to elderly people that they need to catch up with an appointment with a doctor at a specific schedule time for them. At the Ministry of Education, again, they had lots of DT change. Teachers have transformed to facilitators and guidance instructors and provided tools, materials to students, some learning indirectly, and learners were doing the job by themselves. And there were, again, some analytics in the program harnessed at their place. Back to smart cities, people in here today have brought very, very lovely examples and highlighted several points. There was lots of data-driven decision-making. Our friend, fellow speaker today, talked about sensors, which could provide provide a good time management, and which could make people's lives more of a quality assurance level. with some efficient utilities. Here there's this framework of a smart city with we're talking about smart street lighting. On the left, all these sensors are labeled in here: video, cameras, lighting, controls, environmental sensors, acoustic sensors, sorry, الانفايرمنت سنسورز اللي هي تعطي فرصه للمعرفه اذا في غبار او عواصف. when we environment sensors I'm sorry talk to us or notify us about weather conditions. Here all data that we get is handled by a cloud, and then there is a process here where we're having an AI facility. Storage is there, and there is a simple example in here. We may have also good water management level by using sensors, clouds, big data. So those are a few highlights. Now I move to we talk about the economic side, which is the e-commerce business. So e-commerce is quite open, and we all place orders through Amazon, for example, and
والمولز لو تجمعها بالعالم ما تصير نفس الاي كوميرس كسايز. فهذا
all malls around on earth may not stand up for an e-commerce service that big that we find in here. And many of them good businessmen in Kuwait have managed a great job. At the World Forum, they've got a couple of reports that important.
أكثر بس what's applicable to Kuwait.
Sorry, the voice is glitching. Was glitching. I'm sorry a bit.
الحياة المارين لايف is decline. هذه fact.
When it comes to the environmental side, they're talking about biodiversity and human-made environmental disasters. It happens around where we're having certain risks and disasters, say at the oil and petroleum sector. And when we go into some other sector, we find certain risks are there in the economy. Some infrastructure need be very well installed in place. We're having certain breakdown. There are adverse technological advances if people lag behind and not get quite open and well exposed about the topic. And there is this community level thing. I mean, water and electricity crisis could be handled smartly. Infectious diseases, thinking about COVID-19, the food crisis. And this is another the report of the GCI, the Global Competitiveness Index. And we had here 114 indexes. And as we went through them,
using
sorry, the voice is glitching.
And
sorry, the voice is glitching. I believe any state or country who invests in this would be a great progress ahead, a knowledge transfer, and a good know-how would be developed on major sectors, the economic sector. We will have a great pool of businessmen sharing few things in, and we will attract even foreign investment into the place when we think locally in terms of what we have in here in Kuwait. I guess digital transformation is quite important. And when we have a clustered ICT industry, we don't have too many people who handle our a clustered business like. We need to have that whole chain. It's not only providing supplies from big companies. We need to have small entrepreneurial businesses brought in together. And
ما شاء الله شغال على هذا الموضوع.
And my fellow friend, Dr. Ammar, is doing a great job there. And now support innovation again is an important component. Research and development would be boosted a lot when we have serious research and development around us in here. We'll develop certain talents and have very good human capital, and would boost the gross the GDP of Kuwait. And I think we are a bit lagging behind, even if we think in terms of what we have in here and neighboring countries as well around us. We're also unfortunately lagging as well behind. And we do have many people and who are a bit talented. We may only count on developing some good HR and training. And I guess when it comes to the environment that is set up for boosting education for a vast sector of learners, we certainly need a good backup and support there to reach up to an innovation community. Guys, thank you all. Honestly, it was a nice time I had in here. Smart cities again, gentle people. Wow, it's something that we need to tackle. It's a mindset, after all, change, and we need to develop our own version of a smart city. And remember, we have many things that have nothing to do with the specific culture surviving on the place. Think about street lighting, for example. This is a service that could be replicated at our site, for example. And these are very good inputs when we rely and replicate such good projects. And there are very good performance indicators some other countries reached by. Thank you, gentle people, for being here. Thank you, sir. It was a nice presentation you made us this evening again. And I guess we may have got a question in here. Our guest speaker finally would tackle government efforts toward having digital transformation and smart cities. Dr. Al-Husseini, Ammar Al-Husseini, who has got a B Scientific in computer engineering, and he's got a master's degree and a PhD from USC Southern California, the University of Southern California. And he is right now the Deputy General Manager of ICT and also in Kuwait. And he is a member of the staff at computer engineering at the University of Kuwait. And he is also the cultural attaché of the Embassy of Kuwait in Australia. And he's also a steering committee leader at the College of Petroleum Engineering. It's lovely to have you in, Doctor. And you'll talk to us about digital transformation, I guess. Very good to see you guys. Thank you, society people in here. I mean, it's a bit cool to talk about what other fellow speakers have rounded up today. I'll speak from a government side at this moment. And I guess the concept of a smart city is that significant concept. And, you know, it's the trend of the time. When we think about digital transformation, and again, I'm a citizen of a community in here. I need to understand, I mean, an average person needs to understand, what does a smart city stand for? What is digital transformation? what benefits at the end of the day would I get from living in such a community? So we need to tackle this tackle improvements a smart city would introduce to people. It's another developmental level, and again, it's a must-seek strategy that all people around would sense a welfare different from them. There were 6 blocks identified in 2016 under smart cities. They talked about smart economy, human capital, transparency, and partnership in making decisions, a smart environment, and smart life and health services, plus e-governance. I guess EU has got plenty of debate in here, especially when it comes to measuring impact of smart cities, and it's a growing sector. And we got a smart city index that is reported annually, and Singapore was topping the list in 2021. Abu Dhabi was one of those Arab states, and Dubai coming next in the list after. I guess, I mean, well, we are in Kuwait, so do we have a strategy in place for building a smart city, say, or no? Do we have a vision? We have a vision of a new Kuwait for the year 2035. There are inputs there for a smart city programming, and we're having certain updates introduced every 3 years around. Under the work we do general in here, I guess a smart city is not a mere project, but a whole big journey where we would have lots of projects under. It's not something that you could accommodate once. I guess the thing has to do with people, technology. Technology, again, is the sage on the stage in here. And, you know, we're talking about digital transformation, accepting some change of the sort, accepting a new mindset, having regulations in place. And I guess the community is coming a bit over some feebleness in understanding and resisting such a concept. I guess that's a big, big challenge ahead. And I think, as our friend thought about a bit ago, we may not replicate programs some other place into local Kuwait. We may have certain phases around in a step by gentle step manner, or in a phase by gentle phase manner, and then we will have this long vision that we keep by our side, implemented through some prioritization level in what best fits the citizen in a timely manner when we're having periodical strategy introduced every other now and then. At the moment, we have a development plan in place. We may have certain inputs about smart cities. We are trying to, at the moment, to draft a national strategy where we would incorporate lots of things that our fellow speakers highlighted today. To tell the truth, I guess I would love to bring some light on those inputs that would have to do with the smart city building program, and we need to get some feedback. And again, this is something that's going on. It's in the making. And well, for example, when we talk about e-services under smart city programming, the thing we may have around us every day. Under an initiative 1, we're having a pillar strategy for developing government services. We're having an executive plan as well. ensuing from it. And we're thinking about setting up a new app, for example, here with a new design. We may have, lots of good or negative feedback, but again, we are piloting a new service, and it's all a transformative time we are ushering in. And again, this would, bring some awareness slowly to the new mindset. So if we have certain deficiency inputs there, it's okay. This is something that is natural enough on a corporate planning level. And I guess when it comes to e-governance, I believe we are targeting this level where we would have a pure electronic service introduced to all at the end of the day. The concept of a smart city had been outlined very well. Sustainable smart cities is something that too many people know about well today. And with no digital transformation, with no harnessing of technology of this sort, but we are running into this challenge, whether by hook or by crook. I mean, there's no way out. And when you think about the electricity sector, for example, how could we save energy? Again, when it comes to HR development, we have a program for developing digital skills, and we had a certification level, and we were caring very much since a couple of years ahead about having 2 training programs in collaboration with Microsoft, where we had 50 of government personnel sitting in the training for changing toward a new mindset. And we're having several of them courses on how to use artificial intelligence. And it's a must-seek program for all that we could, in the aftermath, move to new projects where we would harness those inputs from training. When we want to start from scratch, absolutely, we need to have some planning, and the planning would have to be centered or hinging upon a smart city concept and vision. But, again, the fact of the day, I mean, our life has turned almost digital in every single way. So we may not run away from this. I mean, the transportation sector, the health sector, the public utility sector, all have to rush into a digital hub. And so I guess data collection through e-governance is a major cornerstone of progress, and we need to instigate many programs about data security and having the right personnel for having surveillance cameras in the streets. Lots of things were introduced, and people, of course, again, would react differently, but things are changing somehow. I mean, people need to have some awareness. Absolutely. They need to understand that such services would enhance their life and well-being. And so again, you need to donate some of your time to understand what's going on around you. It's not an invasion of privacy at all, but they need to rush into it in one way or another with the availability of an infrastructure, a digital infrastructure. We may have lots of new inputs about cloud computing, how to have a DT for a smart city building up project. These are attempts that would be highlighted towards some effort to get to something in the by the end, but then they are not probably that enough. We need to have some, we know, I mean, as citizens, that there are certain solutions are not there around us. For example, garbage collecting service is something that we're having or facing major problems about. Can we have a digital solution or a smart solution around? We need to tackle behavior. There's got to be a mindset change and the behavior different ensuing after. Again, this is an important, real important subject area that we need to tackle and develop certain projects under. Again, we'll have too many phases under those projects, and we need to be marching toward a smart community and a smart city service to reach up across all sectors: transportation, health, education. Thank you guys. I had this time allocated for me here. What? Hopefully, we will be doing something, Doctor. Thank you so much. And thinking about digital transformation or digitalization. We need to do something. We need to stand up for it. And people are having lots of competitiveness around them on the globe. And again, we need to be somewhere on the road. Let's have some questions, gentle people. It's 8:25 already. I wish to conclude our summit, gentle speakers, for all the inputs you provided. You were great. The people at the Kuwait Information Technology Society, the debates we had from the guests and the presentations that were screened. And also we'd love to have a thanks note provided to Dr. Al-Faris, Al-Faris, the Minister of State for Communication and Information Technology, for bringing such an event live. All the people who took part toward wrapping up some level of communication like we had in those couple of days. I would love to say thank you.